I wanted to say something nice about animals. Like, find it, because I say such negative things.
Yeah, you come off as a little bit of an animal hater.
And I was going through, like, mentally, because I have another animal I don't like now, but which I've always known I didn't like. But anyway, I'm trying to think of any animals I actually do like. It's like cats. I actually like cats, and that was a long time coming because I used to hate cats. But I respect
assumed
them
you
now.
didn't like cats. So
I
earlier we were downstairs and Ramona,
Yeah.
my cat, came up, and I was just like, "Hey, you can push her away. Don't worry about it." And you actually went, "No, I like cats." I was like, "Who are you?"
Because cats don't. I respect cats because they generally don't like us. They don't like people.
Well,
and I respect that about them.
And it's been said before. If a cat was 100 pounds heavier, they'd kill us all. Like they.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. Like,
Well, they're the biggest. They're incredible murderers too. Like they change ecosystems.
Yeah. If Ramona could, she would give me a right hook with her paw 3 times in the head and. Boom.
Yeah. Well, then she'd revive you and toy with you a little bit more.
Right.
I mean, they're cruel also, so maybe that's why I like it. Dogs are all right. Birds do bother me because I feel like they could get at your eyes, and all they do is crap.
Yeah.
Like when you don't see a bird anywhere without a big pile of crap underneath.
Well, true, and also I've never understood people that own birds. Micah, who has been on this podcast, had a bird named Fred, a parakeet, and here was Fred's life. Fred's in a cage the size of, a gallon of milk, or maybe a little bigger. I mean, it was given the gift of flight, and you're keeping it.
And your job is it's cruel.
It's cruel, but the big thing would be, every once in a while, they'd open the thing, and Fred would get out. Oh my God, Fred's out! And Fred is doing whirling dervishes through the house,
He's probably trying to get out.
He is trying to get out. He wants freedom, but so I don't understand that. So birds
in general, and of course that gets to the latest animal I don't like, geese.
Oh.
So I don't like, as we've discussed
Speaking
before,
of animals that crap.
And that kind of gets back to what I'm trying to think of. Like, I don't like bears because they'll eat you. But bears at least have a purpose. Like, if a bear will spread, by its eating and defecating, will spread seeds and cause berries and other things to grow throughout the forest. So you can at least say, yes, they're murderers, but they do something.
Yeah, they keep down the salmon population.
Yeah, they do that. So but geese, I can't figure out what do geese do? How do they add to the ecosystem? Because all my experience with geese is they crap, and then if you're anywhere near a lake and you're trying to run or do anything, they come at you like they're like a gang of punk kids hanging out at lakes, messing with you, trying to get in your way.
Yeah, and if you're a golfer,
Yeah.
all they do, it's like leave turds all over the golf. So maybe that's what they add to the ecosystem, is they give a job to some lackey at a golf club.
Yeah. So I did recently have an encounter with some geese, and I am going to substantially change the facts of this story to hide the identities of the people involved with it.
Before you tell the story, though, you're like the Jack Hanna, or you run into more animals.
I'm like the anti-Jack Hanna, though, because I hate all of them.
But why do you run? I can't remember the last time I ran into. Maybe you do outdoor stuff more. You ran into like some raccoons.
Mm-hmm.
You've run into. Well, you were warned about alligators. You've seen some feral cats. What are the other animals? Well, you just don't like bears, but
yeah, they'll kill you. I do like dolphins, but they're rapists. Which doesn't. I think that reflects poorly on me. That's the one animal I like.
You like dolphins, and they're bad people. So
yeah. They're the hashtag Me Too of the ocean.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. My favorite one was Zipper.
Zipper the surly dolphin.
Zipper is surly.
So I was with some geese. I was with some geese. I was in a situation where someone I was with was taking care of somebody's animals. Wanted to know if I'd tag along so they could feed them. This person did not share with me that the animals in question were geese.
So you're thinking you're going to put some kibble out.
Yeah, we're going to do that. And I was in a rural area, so I figured there might be some sort of non-traditional, it wasn't a cat or dog situation. But
Yeah.
I don't understand. They had a lot of geese,
Uh-huh.
which, again, I don't understand what they contribute to the ecosystem or the world, again, other than crapping and getting in your way when you're at a lake trying to, run around. I used to, back at Innsbruck when I worked there, I had to arm myself with a stick
Oh, yeah.
to fight off the geese.
Right.
It was bad enough I was out there waddling, but
Well, right. And then you try to, I've worked there too, and you go, hey, I'm going to be healthy, shed a few calories or burn a few calories. You go walk around the lake,
mm-hmm.
and you're having it's like a minefield. You're
Yeah.
Having a hopscotch through.
Yeah, and if you don't watch, you'll run into them in the corner.
Right, exactly.
West Side Story.
Raccoon style. This is interesting because I'm usually struggling to come up with a transition to our first idiom, but you really set me up on this one because today is going to be all about cats.
All right.
Yeah, so cats, I think we mentioned, don't hate them as much as geese. And there are a lot of cat ones, right? The one that we're going to start with was actually one that was requested on Instagram by a couple of listeners.
Okay.
I believe it was Steve, another Steve, not you.
Another Steve.
And Allison?
Our old friend Allison.
Our old friend Allison. So
we won't say her name on air because we don't like to even say our last names on air.
But
no,
we'll keep it at first names. I think that's okay,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
Yeah,
yeah. Allison's awesome. We've known her for a long time.
Yes, so Steve and Allison both had the same one they wanted to hear, which was cat got your tongue.
Cat got your tongue.
Yes, and I was excited to do this one because it's come up quite a few times, and I had no idea, so I'm curious to know. Cat got your tongue, Steve?
Cat got your tongue. So that's one I've heard a lot. I don't know if I've ever used it, but that is one that's very familiar.
While I'll let you think for a second. I don't use it either, and I was thinking, I've only heard this one or seen this one on movies or television shows for some reason. It seems to be one where the villain or some henchman will be like, cat got your tongue. It was famously used, which was the Batman movie that had Michelle Pfeiffer in it as Catwoman. It was
Batman Returns.
Right. And I remember her, sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't. And that movie to me did not work.
Yeah.
It was campy, maybe not quite campy enough.
Yeah.
And I just remember her, cat got your tongue. And it was unintentionally funny.
Cat got your tongue. So the roots of that, I'm not sure, but I'm going to kind of riff here and see what I can get at. I know in the past, cats were seen as being used by witches. And in a hopefully more distant past when witchcraft was maybe more prevalent or at least rumored to be. I believe cats were used as familiars, which I can't remember what exactly that means. But I mean, it's you were some sort of demonic henchman of a cat.
I mean, that's what a familiar is, basically.
All right.
It's sort of like Satan or some evil force, giving you animals or people that serve an evil purpose under your dominion or whatever.
So I would think maybe that had something to do with that if you couldn't speak, cat got your tongue.
Yeah.
Witches kept you from speaking, but that's about all I can.
Yeah.
Cats being again a little bit funky, but I like that about them. And again, for people that maybe who know me have heard this is a big 180 for me because I used to I generally despise all animals, but cats were way up there on that list. But again, I respect them now because they don't care. They're kind of jerks in a good way of if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't.
Yep.
And they don't really care.
So you just actually picked up one of the apocryphal ones, which is one of the theories is that cat got your tongue stems from medieval fear of witches, and somehow cat would magically take the tongue away so they couldn't tell what was going on. Before I get to the real one and some of the other apocryphal ones, why would this be used? I mean, this might be a very simple question, but I mean, we don't use it every day, but if anybody doesn't know, maybe isn't familiar, why would you use this?
I think I've seen it used in a situation where you're speaking to someone and the person you're speaking to doesn't make a response or is speechless at a comment that's been made, and you would say, "What's the
Right.
matter? Cat's got your tongue."
Yeah, and I think it's used in a sort of almost a hostile way, or you wouldn't say that to your friend who you're just having a conversation.
Right. It's
Oh, it's okay, got your tongue. Yeah,
there's a contentiousness with it. It's not used in a happy exchange.
Right, and I think that's why we have seen it in movies more. Like I think like a James Bond movie. I don't know for a fact, but I guarantee you go back and watch Moonraker or Thunderball.
Right.
Somebody's going to be like, "What's wrong, 007? Cat got your tongue?" Some pussy galore joke in there probably. So this is one that is now nobody uses it in speech. It was more popular in the 60s and 70s. Don't really know why, but that's what the research says. It's kind of gone out of vogue.
And I don't feel bad about it. We've talked about some that we like. We like Loaded for Bear. We like Cut of Your Jib. But this is one that I'm fine. I don't see a lot of value to this one. It's just it's quippy and it's contentious, but it's not really funny.
No, it's not a good one.
Yeah.
It's not alliterative as a good, some of these good ones are. It's not rooted in anything too good. Spoiler alert. This is one of the ones where the fake origins are better than the actual origins. So let's talk about, there are two other fake ones I want to go over. Okay. One of the theories is that in ancient Egypt, liars and blasphemers would have their tongues cut off. This is in ancient Egypt, and fed to the cats.
Right.
So I guess Egypt and the pharaohs were known for keeping cats, as they were one of the first, I guess, to sort of keep domestic, if you will, cats.
And they also had a lot of, I believe, deities that were also
absolutely, yes. So you hear that, and it's like, I mean, honestly, okay, I can see that, but there's just absolutely no like history behind that. It just sounds good. The other one I want to talk about a little bit, which is the English Navy would flog sailors with a cat o' nine tails, and then afterwards they would be not feeling too great.
Right.
And so they wouldn't be able to talk. So other sailors or people would say, "Hey, what's wrong? Cat got your tongue." So it's referring to the cat o' nine tails, which, are you familiar with the old cat o' nine tails, Steve?
I am, and that does not sound... I think you actually would be making some noise after that, but it probably wouldn't be speaking.
Yeah, you probably would. So I want to talk about the cat o' nine tails for a second. So the reason I want to spend a minute here is there's no evidence that this is why we use this, but this actually happened as I was researching this, because when I first read that this was a fake one, I'm thinking, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't see the English Navy using a cat o' nine tails to like beat the bejesus out of a sailor. Yeah. But oh no, they did. So it's all true up until the point where the phrase didn't come from it. So back in the day, in the English Navy, they would use this thing called a naval cat, which was a cat o' nine tails. It was also known as a quote. It was also known as a quote captain's daughter. So the principle here was that the captain was able to use this thing. It was 13 ounces, and it had a handle connected to 9 thinner pieces of like leather or line or whatever. They were all knotted up, and so these were administered ceremonially on the deck. So if you did something bad, and here's the thing, I mean, all you had to really do was like get caught drunk or like say something rude to the captain, and boom, you're on the deck, and it's almost like a ceremonial thing. You'd get the tar, and part of it, I think, was you had to be made an example of.
Yeah.
But what's so awful about this is that, again, depending on what it was you did wrong, you would get different treatment. So standard penalties were, desertion, you get 200 lashes, okay? Mutiny, 300 lashes. Theft was up to 500 lashes. The offense of sodomy, well, that just drew the death penalty. No flogging for you. You're done.
Right.
So that's how things used to be. So next time we talk about how awful everything is now. But here's the one, okay. They called it flogging around the fleet. And that was the severest form of flogging. So if you were, and the severest form would come from basically mutiny or if you struck an officer.
Right.
What they would do is you would get hit with 250 lashes by the captain or under the supervision of the captain on your ship. They would take you to like every ship, and the captain of that ship would come out and flog you. So that sucks. But I mean, this is real history of what happened. And so the cat of nine tails, you didn't want to be around it, the captain's daughter, etc. And I guess the idea was like they would beat you to the point of close to death, and then you're supposed to swab the deck afterwards. And
that would be my follow-up of after you receive that, are you discharged or are you still, because I don't think you're going to be too worthwhile to the rest of your team at that point.
Yeah, so this could be combined with a full court martial.
Right.
So you get beat and then you're out.
Right.
If you steal something, you might get 500 lashes and then you're swabbing the deck.
Yeah. I imagine once you've committed mutiny, you're not. This is
right.
the
Yeah,
start
we're not
of,
going to trust you with anything else. But boy, I tell you, I mean, I know that in the military, you've got to be, you got to follow orders. But I don't know. I found this sort of, it's not funny at all or anything that it's like we can really crack jokes about. It sucks, but that was really a thing that happened. And it's not where cat got your tongue comes from. Yeah. But that is one of the theories that one of the other sailors would be, oh, cat got your tongue, like you're too worn out to talk or whatever. So the old cat of nine tails was used in prisons up to the 50s. And I'm sure it has, there are probably other cats of nine tails that may be used now. Maybe just more for fun.
Yeah, maybe recreationally.
Yeah.
If you're into Stromboli's.
Or Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got those out of the way. All it really is a phrase used with kids. So, hate to transition from the cat of nine tails.
Yeah.
It was first used in 1881 in an illustrated paper called Baloo's Monthly Magazine. And it says, quote, "Has the cat got your tongue, as the children say?" So there are all these things kids would say, like the blackbird pecked off his nose or whatever. And kids would just say it to other kids. And there's nobody knows why. I've looked into this a lot. And up until this 1881 paper, there's no history of it. And from there, people would just say, "Has cat got your tongue?" And it's just supposed to be some silly way of saying, "Why aren't you talking?"
So as with a lot of these, we see it published somewhere in a time where there weren't a lot of publishing options.
Right.
If something's published in a major newspaper, it's going to get out there and get used a lot. So I could see as a children's book, you probably didn't have a lot of options, and it gets spread around.
Well, and probably what happened here is because of what he says here is, "Has the cat got your tongue, as the children say?" I doubt this guy just made it up. My guess is it was some regional thing. Kids say silly things. And it's like, you and I grew up in a certain area where, I don't know about you, I'll say something every once in a while, and people go, "What are you talking about?" And I realize, oh, that's actually a regional phrase. It still happens today. We talk about stuff that's said in Pittsburgh and whatever. But this guy had heard it used by kids and had put it in this magazine, which was one of your few options of things to read, and then it just gets used again, and then it's in a movie, and the next thing.
Right.
So cat got your tongue, to me, is not a great one. I don't think it had a very long lifespan. It kind of popped up for about 100 years, and then nobody wants to use it anymore.
But we both knew what it was.
Sure.
I mean, we had heard it, and we had multiple people request that too. So that's, I guess, a weird thing about that is it one that I think we've talked about we don't like, but it seems to stick. Like we've all heard it, and people had asked for it.
Yep. So I think that this is one we can sort of put to bed. This one's going to die, and I'm happy to let it die. But for everyone that's curious about it, it just is it reminds me, the one that I thought of was Sleep Tight a little bit. Because Sleep Tight really didn't have much of a... There was no reason people said sleep tight other than it
rhymes.
It rhymed. It was able to be used in this thing, and kids would say it, and then it got picked up. And I think it's like this, too. Cat got your tongue. It just kind of... It's not alliterative. It doesn't sound great, but you know what it means when you hear it.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Well, thank you, Steve. I don't know you, but your name is awesome. And Allison, who this is a true fact. Allison and I both went to a Prince concert at the same time. We didn't go together, but we found out we were both at a Prince concert together.
That's awesome.
In Greensboro, North Carolina.
Did he bring up chemtrails?
No.
Good.
but he did play Purple Rain.
I was always the good kid too, like the nice guy. And I remember being out with a couple of friends that were a little more edgy.
Yeah.
Still good kids, but
Yeah.
like I remember, and this is pre-cell phone, so it was like my parents trusted me to like go do whatever. They
Right.
knew I was going to be
Right.
fine. I remember I was with my friend Brendan,
Mm-hmm.
and we end up at like a little house party or something,
Mm-hmm.
which is way out of my comfort zone back then. And people are drinking, and there's some smells I don't recognize, and that I'm going, oh, you know, he has to get on the house phone, and I just hear him going, yeah, mom, I'm with Scott McGinnis. And I just remember deflating because I was like, oh, I'm that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I am that guy. Okay. Well, yeah. So
I actually had someone actually said, I think we were adults, and she said this.
oh no.
It was like, yeah, my mom used to let me go anywhere that you were because, nothing was going to happen.
Oh, that's so
And it's
funny.
one of those things that you hear it and you go, oh, that is 100% true. But there is that kind of like a
There really
sound
is.
that you
Like,
just feel.
if it was I don't know, like who's the director of? I can't think of Martin Scorsese, but do the thing where it's like the face kind of gets really like pans in, and you're like,
and you see the sadness.
That's how we both were in those moments.
Yeah.
But again, that was ultimately good. In the moment, it didn't feel good. But I don't know about you, Steve. Though in high school, I don't know if you were a curious guy, but for some reason, they say curiosity killed the cat.
Curiosity killed the cat.
And I don't know why, because to me, being curious is a good thing. So it's something we should talk about. Why would curiosity kill a cat? Why do we say that? What is the point?
Yeah, so that one's kind of odd too, because you also, when you start thinking of things with cats, you think cats having 9 lives. So if curiosity, I heard that phrase used of trying to make you not go out of your lane and be too curious about things. If that's the case, why would you use something that essentially gets a do-over if they do die? So curiosity.
Right, so why even choose the cat?
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, if you're going to go beyond your pale.
So I think that's one that sticks around a little bit more because of it flows well. It sounds good. It has a good cadence. It conveys a message to you. Maybe if you overthink it, it's not very logical, but it's a good way to say don't push it. Be careful. Don't go out of your lane. Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it sounds better for sure. It's got the alliteration, but I don't like this one because I feel like people that say this are annoying people.
Right.
Curiosity killed the cat. Like, okay, they don't want you. And in a weird way, something I just thought about. It's kind of the opposite of the other one, right? So the other one is cat got your tongue, which is saying like, oh, you speak up, like you're being all quiet now.
Right.
This one is like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're asking questions, and the person tells you, curiosity killed the cat. Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Very negative on cats, which is we finally decided is the actual only animal I seem to like that I can put down.
Right. But then to your point, why use cat? And again, I guess it sounds good, but there are many animals. And the other thing I was thinking about when I was looking into this one, this is not one I wanted to really do in the past because, and by the way, this one was also requested by our friend Allison. But to me, I was thinking, it's just, everyone knows cats are curious. But then I started thinking about it. I'm going, are cats really more curious than other animals? Are cats more curious than dogs?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we think that because of this phrase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know why. So I still don't know why.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a thing where the phrase makes us think of the cat that way. Because if it was curiosity killed the possum and you heard that for 400 years,
yeah,
you go, oh, yeah, everybody knows possums are curious.
Yeah. Possums are gross. Have you ever seen a possum?
I used to be a paperboy, son. I saw, I was freaked out by possums. As a paperboy, here are my top 3 hated animals as a paperboy. Number 3 would be possums.
Okay.
Here's the thing. They scare the crap out of you, but they don't like attack you.
Right.
You see them, you send a shiver down your spine. They're just staring at you.
Right.
They're nocturnal, so you're out there at 4 a.m. throwing papers. And I feel like a good Sunday paper could take one out.
Yep.
Second place on the power rankings, I'm working backwards here, is spiders. Because being out in the morning, walking through your, to throw your papers, you get hit with more spider webs because you're like blazing that trail in the morning.
Right.
You're the first guy out. All these
You're
spiders
taking them down for everybody else.
Taking down spiders. I feel like, Gwen Stefani starts singing in the background. The number one, though, dogs.
Dogs.
Specifically German Shepherds, because all dogs hated me, kind of like, they hate the postman. They also hate the paperboy. And I used to, before I could drive, I'd be on my bike. And there was this one, I don't know if I've told you this story, but there was this one German Shepherd that every morning would bark at me like it wanted to eat me. And the owners left it in the garage. And the garage door would be open about 6 inches. So just enough for him to get his, muzzle under there and just let me have it. One day, I'm on my bike, and I'm heavy laden. I've got, 100 papers because I've got like the thing that is in the front and the back, and one on the side, and I have a basket full of papers. So I'm slowly pedaling, and I step off my bike and I look. The German Shepherd is not on a leash, and it's sitting on the porch. And it sees me, and its ears go back, and it just comes at me. And again, it was a Sunday, so I have my Sunday paper. I get on my bike, I start to pedal, and I'm like, this guy, he's going to get me. So I had to stop, and I turn around, and I just swung the paper and smacked him right in the face, and he started to go away, because that's the thing about dogs. They can smell fear, and they do. If you are aggressive toward them, one thing might, they'll back off usually. Yeah, paperboy animals are the worst. Possums are the worst. I don't know if they're curious or not to bring it back, but I wanted to kill some possums. Let's put it that way.
So another idiom we don't like.
It's good to know what they mean. So let's talk about what this one means. There's a twist to this one, which is, much like many of the ones we've done before, this one was not originally Curiosity Killed the Cat. This one started, and for the longest time, was Care Killed the Cat. Now, what does that mean? Okay? Well, care was used as a synonym for worry back then. So Ben Jonson, one of the greatest English playwrights of all time, wrote a play called Every Man His Humor. And the whole deal in it was that it was a Tudor humorous comedy. So it was sort of a parody of the Tudors, and each major character had a particular humor or trait, and one of them was care, which was worry. And in one of his lines, he says, "Helter skelter, hang sorrow, care will kill a cat. Up tails all, and a louse for the hangman." So here's where this gets fun too, is that in that troupe, so this play was done by a troupe called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which was a troupe of actors, including another very famous playwright, William Shakespeare. So then a few years later, in Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare writes, "What courage, man, what though care killed a cat? Thou hast metal enough in thee to kill care." So he kind of flips it on his head. But that's what this initially was. So it had nothing to do with curiosity. And so this sort of shoots down the notion of there being any intrinsic link between curiosity and cat. It's more, once again, the alliteration. Care will kill a cat.
Yeah.
So this care will kill a cat was the phrase for over 400 years, because in 1898, it was defined in Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable. It says, quote, "Care killed the cat. It is said that a cat has 9 lives, but care would wear them all out." So you brought up before, this thing about cats having 9 lives. And what ended up apparently happening is at some point, Curiosity Killed the Cat took over. And the best reason that we think that may have happened is because over the years, curiosity has been more a vice than a virtue. We've gone way back. This is AD 397. St. Augustine wrote in Confessions that God, quote, fashioned hell for the inquisitive.
Hmm.
Which I would love your take on this, because I was really surprised when I read this. It goes on. I mean, Lord Byron calls curiosity, that low voice, it's meant in a bad way. This thing about curiosity, I always think of that as a good thing, because I feel like you learn because of curiosity.
You want to foster curiosity in your children, and we respect that as Americans. That is kind of odd. Looking back at the years that you mentioned, were a time where the church was much more powerful.
Absolutely.
And the establishment, whatever that means, it was you stayed in your lane, pretty much. And curiosity, if you were of a certain race or sex or age, children, women, other people of color, you were to stay in your place and not push it. And maybe curiosity was kind of the gateway drug to that happening. That is very odd. But to hear someone like Lord Byron, who was a bit of a fancy lad, it is interesting to hear that.
It is.
That is strange.
Well, I think, though, you're right, though. I think what you're talking about, because I think of some of the other ones we've done, Beyond the Pale, got used idiomatically as well in this same way. Don't go beyond the pale. Yeah. Don't speak out of school. Yeah. Don't go outside of, stay in your lane. You've said that a couple times. And you talked about religion. Well, hey, we can go back to the last one with the daggone military, the cat and nine tails. It's like, look, you're not here to be curious. If I say, fire away, you fire away. You don't start pontificating or asking why. And it may have something to do with that. I think we think a lot differently now. Yeah. Maybe that's not good in all cases. To me, it's like, I want my kids to be curious. Curiosity is good. But the first time that this is even used in writing, that we see curiosity killed the cat, it's used kind of like a joke. And by the way, it's the same year as 1898 as the Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable came out. This, though, is from the Galveston Daily News, and it said once, quote, curiosity killed a Thomas cat, which a Thomas cat is like a jokey form of tomcat. Not sure, don't really know why all of a sudden it switched to curiosity, but there is also, I had never actually heard this. Apparently there's a rejoinder to Curiosity Killed the Cat, which is Curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought it back. Have you heard that one?
I haven't.
So I don't think that one's very good, but that was quoted from 1933.
I feel like we just have to call out this, which I feel bad about. So we requested idioms from people.
Yes.
People gave them to us.
Yep.
People that we've known for a long time. And all we've done is shit on.
I know. I hated this one. I never wanted to do this
so
one.
I don't know if this is the best thing. I appreciate Allison and Steve sharing these with us. I apologize that we didn't care for them.
No,
or we didn't care for the histories of them, but they are good because I wouldn't have known the backgrounds.
That's why it's good, because if I'm just picking these, I'm going to go to ones, because another one that we did last time was I did because of Craig, which was Between a Rock and a Hard Place. Yeah. I would have never done that one, and it turned out to be interesting. So please send us requests. We've got some other ones as well. You can do our email, which you can find, or you can do it on Instagram, but feel free to request them because it makes us do ones that we don't maybe love.
And thank you, Allison and Steve.
Yes. So anyway, these are horrible. No.
Possums are gross.